Hey, what's up, guys? So today what I've got for you is an unboxing of the GMWD Chest Press. They wanted to send me one. I couldn't turn it down. So we're going to unbox it, we're going to put it together, and then I'm going to give you my first impressions of it, kind of how big it is, maybe how it works. That way, if you're looking at one of these, maybe we can help you decide whether it's for you or not. So stick around. That's what's coming up. All right, so like I said there in the intro, GMWD wanted to send me the chest press and let me try it out, kind of give them my thoughts and help me out on my chest recovery after my accident that I've had. Check out some of the other videos I've made, but I was in an accident last February and wasn't supposed to be able to have any functionality in this right pec, but it's coming back. So they heard about my accident, wanted to send me the chest press to kind of help out with my training. So what we're going to do is we're just going to unbox it, put it together real quick, and then I'll kind of go over the features and kind of what it looks like out of the box and how it works, kind of my first impressions. So we're going to do a time lapse on the putting it together. So that's going to go through quick. So we're going to get this started right now. Here we go. All right, so we saw the unboxing. You see all the stuff that's kind of laid out here, and I got a chance to kind of go over it. I will say that I'm fairly impressed with at least what I've saw from the price that the unit comes at. So for when you're talking about, stuff for home gym, I wasn't expecting it to be the best in the world, but just overlooking it, the joints where they've got them welded together look nice. The powder coating on it looks nice. A few years ago was a powder coater. I had my own business doing powder coating, and I feel like the finish on this is very nice. Both pieces, the black and the red. The metal, the gauge metal that they've used, I don't know what they claim that it is, but it's not all the same. So some of the pieces have thicker gauge metal than the other. Like this piece here is a little thicker than the actual rail, and this piece is thicker than this. So there must be parts in it that they needed extra support for. So there's not one set gauge of steel that I've been able to find. There's some lesser and some thicker gauge steel, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a noticeable thing. But other than that, I think I'm ready to start get it together. Looks like there's 5 steps in the book. Who knows how many that's going to be in real life, but it's got 5 steps. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started with that. Let's go. I will say one thing is that the bolts that it comes with, the kit that it comes with, looks really nice, and you're probably going to want your own tool with it. I'm going to use this ratchet set. I believe it's a 17 millimeter, which is what it should be. That's what I've got here from the last piece I set up. They're all about the same. So if it's different when I get going to put it together, I'll make the note, but I'm pretty sure you'll need a 17 millimeter to put that together. But just saying, if you don't want to, it comes with the tools, but to make your life easier, get a little more torque, uh, have your own ratchet. Okay, so one thing that I did find, it isn't 17 millimeter, but you're going to want a 17 millimeter either socket, but you're going to want 2 of them, or a wrench and a socket, 2 wrenches, whatever that looks like, but you're going to want 2. It'll be 17 millimeter. It comes with what you need, but if you have the tools around the house, it just makes it a lot easier. I can just tell it's going to be easier. It's a little different than like these 2 that I put together that have carriage style bolts with the square that kind of holds the one end in place, so you only need the one side as far as to be able to twist. With this, you'll be able to twist from both sides. So just make sure if you're going to have your own tools, you're going to want 2 17s of some kind. So there are two sizes, three sizes, looks like different bolts, multiple sizes. You've got to make sure you use the right ones, and it's the thickness of the metal that's coming into play here. Some of these thicker parts need more length on the bolts. So you've got to make sure you use the right ones. So don't just use any of them, because if you get using the long ones and get to the end, you'll have some that'll be too short. Just double check and make sure that you're using the long ones and not the short ones. All right, so there's going to be one important part here that they're saying in the instructions, and I'm just going to mention it in case you're watching this and care to know. So there are going to be these washers that go in here, and they're a certain kind of washer that has what they call groove. There's just like a little groove around this piece here. It goes to the inside, so it sets this way. So you're going to put the groove to the inside. So just make sure that when you're going through here, you don't put it backwards. It says it in the instructions. It's explicit in there, but just want to make sure that I mentioned it. So my original instincts were right. Kind of doesn't say it on here. You kind of have to just look and see. So it looks like you want to put the nice logo. They have a real nice logo here on this. You know, the powder coating is nice, but that's a really nice piece of metal, whatever it is. But it looks like that goes up. So that's the way it needs to go. And now we're in business. See, yep, logo goes up. And I do want to mention too, there are two sets of bearings in here. So I'm very surprised, even just pulling the bearings out and looking at them. They're nice bearings. They would be able to be replaced if you took it to a local bearing shop if one day the bearings were out. So, I mean, really the overall design of this looks very nice. I know there are a lot of these that a lot of companies sell that look the same. I have no experience knowing if they're all the same or not. But I can at least tell you that this one, to me, looks like it's designed fairly well for what it's supposed to do and the amount of weight it's supposed to hold. It looks like it should do its job just fine. The only place I would say maybe that we might find that it's weak might be where this piece here, where this rod's connected. We'll see. So let's finish it. All right, so I will say one thing. On this whole piece of equipment so far, I feel like everything's been nice, even from the pins. They're heavy-duty pins. The the metal has been fun. Even the covers here on these have been fun. But one thing I will say that I've heard everybody else say on the reviews is that it's lacking on the bench. I don't really know how to explain it. It feels soft. It feels slippery. It's cool that they've got the logo. Like, I mean, it actually looks nice. It just doesn't seem as high end as like the other bench that I've got there or other benches that I've had or used in the past. It doesn't necessarily mean anything about it. It's just essentially one thing that I've noticed. Everything else seems pretty high end. This seems pretty like they let this go. So let's get this attached. All right, so I got the seat on there. And after just looking at the seat, I mean, it doesn't feel too bad once it's on here. I will just say it's kind of narrow. So as it's got on, I'll kind of pull back my initial kind of gripe. It doesn't feel too bad. I mean, once it's on here, it does feel a little slippery, but it doesn't feel too bad. Now that it's on here, it looks nice. Just maybe it's a little narrow, so we'll see how it is when we go to lay down and see how it works. So now we're just going to make sure we got everything tightened up. I got all the bolts in, everything fit fine. You know, I got it all mocked together, so now we'll tighten it all down. All right, so there are two sizes of bolts, at least that I've found. There's going to be a third here. I don't know what it is yet, but you've got the 17 for your main ones, but you got a 14 on the ones that hold your seat. So you're going to need at least two sizes, and I'll find the third here as I get to it. Looks like it's probably going to be a 19 though, but you're going to at least need a 14 for the seat. Now I'll say if you use a big wrench, a ratchet, that's long. Be careful on these. It seems like if you could put too much torque, you would maybe, you know, break them. So pull the whatever the sleeve is with the threads out of the wood. So you might want to use this if you're not real experienced with all the different ways that you could put a bolt in and tighten it too much. These are probably your best bet. But if you're a little more advanced or you know how to use tools at all, even a little bit, just don't over tighten these because you'll mess the seat up. All right. So I told you I'd let you know the other size. The third size you'll need, 19 could work. I don't have a 19, but I got a 3/4. So a 3/4 will work. So for what we're doing here, you can use a 3/4, and they should have, I don't know, in here there should be, one of these should be the correct size for the other end. Let's check and find out. Yep. So if you get a 3/4, then this little tool here that comes in the bag, this will have the other end, so you don't got to find two of everything. You can find one of everything, and then this will have the other end if you don't have a wrench. If you just got one wrench or you got one ratchet, this will help you on the back side. All right, so now I'm going to clean up, and we'll get it tested out. All right, so I got everything cleaned up, and I wanted to show you that these, they have the 1-inch tubing here if you have the 1-inch plates, or you can use this, which is going to be like a little sleeve that lets you use the 2-inch plates. So I'm going to use the 2-inch plates for all of my Preston type stuff that I'm going to use with this. So I'm going to put them on. Now you can also see, maybe you can't, but I'll have something to show you. In the back, there are two 1-inch posts that go up where you also have two of these as well. I'm not going to use these because I want to be able to put my 1-inch plates back there for weight in case I need it as storage. But if you don't have any 1-inch hole plates, these come, so you get two sets of these, but I'm not going to use these, and so we'll just kind of toss these to the side. But we'll finish tightening this one up. And there we go. So now I will say, just on first impressions of having it here back together, everything seems fairly tight. There's not a lot of play in these like you might see other people say online, but I see why there becomes play as you put weight. There's just so much leverage from here down to there, and it hinges. So it makes sense that there's going to be some flex and that there wouldn't be any when there's no weight on it. The bench, again, doesn't seem too bad now that it's on. It seems pretty sturdy. The pin, you'll just pull the pin that's back behind here, lets it come up. Put the pin back, snaps that in place, and then you can pull this pin out that's there, fold that down, and that stays like that. So it folds up nice and tight. So now, for the next step, I'll throw some weights on and we'll try it out. All right, before I throw any plates on, I want to show you something that I just, as it was sitting here, saw. Maybe somebody else has done it before, but I just saw it and it's pretty slick. So what I want to show you is I've got this trainer here, this cable machine that usually acts as a functional trainer. What I've done is just looped over these hand grips over each side. So now I'm able to use, if you don't have weight plates, let's say you've got stackable weights on your functional trainer, well, you can now utilize those with this chest press. So just as something I saw as I was putting it together here, I at least wanted to show you that if you've got a functional trainer and you don't have a bunch of weight plates, you can use it for that. So that's pretty cool. So we'll pull these off. And we'll throw some weight on it. Now we've got Just 25 pounds load on each side. That way I don't kill my shoulders doing it this way. I know I've seen some guys put blocks underneath to get started, then when they lift out of it, the blocks fall. So, but to be honest, I like it. Pushes pretty smooth. You can see it's got a little bit of a bounce to it, but that's just the leverage with the weight. I imagine it gets much worse. But to be honest, if you've got a functional trainer, now that I've just done that, that feels a lot smoother than essentially using the weight plates. So depending on what you got, you know, you can work with what you got, but if you've got a functional trainer like this, that's a really slick way to be able to do it. So I guess the other thing I want to see is what it's like to put this down. So there's a pin that it comes with. You pop the pin, you slide that under, and now you can do inclined. Now, I've heard people complain about where your feet are, so I've not done it before, but I do understand it does feel like you're sliding off. It'd be nice if there was something here that caught you, if it was just a ridge in the foam there, but beggars can't be choosers. And it really does. Scoot up here a little bit. If you know Coop from the guy that does the reviews, he's the one who mentioned that your head will hang off, and it is true. Where you want to be placed at, it does feel like your head kind of hangs off. But again, for the price of these things, man, I can already feel where it's getting to, where it's working. And it's actually doing a pretty good job. So for what it is, and the size it takes up, the footprint that it takes up, and you can kind of see here in my living room is where I've got all my stuff stored. And there's going to be even room to kind of fold this up and stick it somewhere in the corner. So overall, for a first impression of a machine like this, it's not too awful expensive, that just comes in a couple of days once they shipped it. I mean, once they shipped it to me, it was only 3 days before it showed up. So you can't complain about that. The finish of it is very, very nice. So I'm actually very happy with the piece. Now, what I'm going to be doing with the piece is putting it to the test to see if I can't get some of the strength back in my right pec here. I had an accident in February where I almost died in a head-on collision, and I had to have some plating put in my ribs here under my pec, and they cut a big, huge hole here to get the rib plating in, and that pec wasn't supposed to grow. But in the last few months, I've noticed that it started to grow, and I've actually got some feeling back in it, and I can control it now. So the nice company at the GMWD Fitness, they sent me this because they wanted to help out with my training. So I really, really appreciate them for doing that, for going out of their way to do something like that for me. They didn't have to do that, but they did do that. Required nothing of me for the review. And so this review is 100% honest. It's my first initial thoughts, and I'm actually pleasantly surprised for what it is. I've seen these on Temu, versions of these. I've seen these on Amazon with other companies. And I have to say that I am pretty impressed. They've got rubber stoppers here to protect your powder coat. And like I mentioned before, these are very nice plates that are put on there. The box wasn't marked with the company, but inside, it's a very nice finish. One of the things that I will point out is this piece that goes across here that holds the upright arms. It's got to go on a certain way so that the seat works. So you want to make sure in the instructions that you see that which way that needs to be turned, because there are two size holes. One for the bolt that holds the seat on, and then one for the pin that holds the seat in place. So just make sure when you're there that you check that out. Other than that, it was an easy assembly. You could kind of see it in fast motion there. It didn't take really too long. But even in real life, it wasn't too hard following the instructions and having the right tools up front. So knowing that you're going to need a 14, a 17, and a 19 millimeter or a 3/4 inch socket. And if you can get a socket and a wrench, or two sockets or two wrenches, it's going to make your life easier than the little tools that they send. But if you don't have it, they've got the tools for you to get the job done. So overall, happy with the piece of equipment. I can't wait to start putting it to the test. But I'm going to make some updated reviews on how the machine's treating me and how it's working out in my training and what I think of it in the long term. So I appreciate you sticking around for this. If you've got anything from this, please give the video a like. I put a lot of time into these videos trying to get some cool shots and think how to say and what to say and how to say it to you. So there's a lot of work that goes into it that seems like these quick videos are just quick and put together, but they're not. And if you'd subscribe to the channel, that would be great. And leave me a comment below if you like the video, you know. And if you're considering getting one of these, check them out on Amazon. I know you can get them on Amazon, or you can also go to the GMWD website. You can also get them there. Pretty much the same price. They're going to ship just as quick. It's not like some of the things I've bought on Amazon where I'm not sure what I'm getting it from. This is an actual company with an actual website, so it's going to ship from them whether you go on Amazon or you go to the website. Either way, it's going to work. So appreciate you sticking around this long. Hopefully you got something out of it. We'll see you on the next one.